Welcome to the Beyond the Horizons podcast, where we delve into and expand upon some of the key issues raised in the Enable 2024 MSP Horizons report, produced in conjunction with Canalys. In this episode, Stefanie Hammond walks MSPs through the key points of her new Selling Security Digital Playbook, which provides a step-by-step guide to building, pricing, marketing, and selling security services. Welcome back to another edition of the Beyond the Horizons podcast, and I'm delighted to be welcoming back Stefanie Hammond, our
So soon.
sales and marketing head nerd.
Well, thank you for having me back.
So soon because, big news. So you've written a Selling Security Playbook. Why?
I have. Well, it's something that has been on my list to create. I already deliver probably 6 hours, 8 hours worth of training around how do you build, price, market, sell security via my boot camps. And so I kind of always meant to create a companion guide for that boot camp series. But as you know, new priorities emerge, and I just never got around to actually putting that into existence. But then once Enable released our new Enable MDR, last winter into this winter and spring, I was constantly getting asked the question from partners, from other MSPs, from our Enable sales team, from our partner success managers, from other internal partners within Enable. Well, what should MSPs be charging for Enable MDR? And so that pricing question really stuck with me because I was getting it almost on a daily basis. But it really made me realize that everyone, if they were asking me this pricing question, I felt that they were missing the point and the value behind Enable new MDR service because this was a phenomenal new service that was going to make it so much more easier for our partners, even if they're on the smaller side, to really embrace cybersecurity and go to market with a robust security offering. Because they didn't need the people to help deliver it for them. They had our Enable MDR SOC team and the SIM that came with it. So it was a really good package. And but again, I feel like when I got asked the pricing question, what should we be charging for MDR? Everyone was thinking of it as a tool, trying to sell it in a silo. And when you think of something as just purely being a tool, you're going to limit yourself in what you can ultimately charge for that, right? It's going to quickly become that commodity item. It also made me recognize that they weren't really thinking about who they were selling to, right? Like who MDR would be most beneficial to. Because again, depending on the type of customer that you're selling to, whether it's traditional managed services or a co-managed type of client, that's going to impact how you charge for that. So because I kept getting this question, I decided to put all my musings down on paper. It started as a blog post first that was released a couple of months ago, just so I would have something quick to send out. Because again, I was getting the question on a daily basis, so I could send out that blog post. But then I recognized I needed to do a little bit more than what 1,200 words in a blog post would allow me to do. So that finally I buckled down, put the time in, and came out with a 100-page document just to handle the pricing question. How do I price MDR?
So you went from the 1,200 words to 120,000 words. I think, isn't about that.
Something. Yeah, it's a pretty comprehensive document. So
No, well, comprehensive is good. But what do you think really? What makes this concept of selling security such a challenge for what is probably quite a broad range of MSPs, isn't it?
yeah, and I think it comes down again to MSPs truly not understanding who they're selling to, and what they're buying, and they're trying to kind of rely on the status quo and use the same approach that they've always used when dealing with business owners, because again, a lot of MSPs, they were founded by techs, right?
Mm.
They're technicians, they're engineers, they know technology really, really well. But their background is not in sales, it's not in packaging, it's not in pricing, it's not in marketing, and the things that kind of go around all these cool tech tools that they're
Mm.
buying. So you see where the MSP gets really excited about a new technology tool and the features that are in it. And when they go to speak to a non-technical business owner, which that traditional managed services client is, they're non-technical, that's why they're coming to you. Business owners don't get it because they're talking
Mm.
tech and people glaze over, if they're non technical. And the business owner is just automatically going to maybe disregard that email or disregard that phone call because the MSP is coming across as trying to sell a piece of technology, and
Mm.
they just want me to buy it and they want to charge me more on top of what I've already paying them. So again, they're coming at it from kind of a tool sale, technology perspective, as opposed from really making a business case
Mm.
around it. And so when they hear pushback from their customer, this is too expensive, or why do I actually need this, because I don't think I actually need this, they get stuck with how should I respond back to that, and they have a
Mm.
difficult time articulating why this piece of technology is important and why it needs to be folded into what they're already doing today. Um, and and so as such, because they don't know how to really handle that objection, what's the response back, right? Well, let me reduce my price. Will that make you buy, Mr.
Mm.
Customer, if I make it cheaper for you? So in my boot camps and in my selling security playbook, I really focus on the benefits of, selling security in a packaged um, approach, in a bundled set
Yeah.
services, as opposed to splitting them apart, selling them in an a la carte manner,
Mm.
and really selling
Mm.
each service in an individual silo.
Mm. Mm. And so, I mean, there's a couple of things there. I mean, firstly, this is a fairly generic thing. I mean, I think we've talked about this. Is MSPs generally need to have that need to understand that concept of the difference between selling benefits as opposed to selling technology. One point. Second point being that I think it's interesting because the MSP, obviously the MSP Horizons report we did last year that I
Yeah.
always try and reference in all these podcasts. Um, we One of the things that came out of that was, while there is a growing understanding, I suppose, amongst SMBs, SMEs, etc.,
Hmm.
about the need for security solutions and the need to sort of protect yourself, there's not really or there is less so when it comes to understanding the value,
Hmm.
or well, not actually the value. Sorry, not the value, the cost of
Yeah.
actually of these services. So I think this is another thing that MSPs are going to be battling with, is the fact that you know Mr. Customer may come to you and go, I want 24/7, 365 coverage. I want MDR, XDR, blah, all these kind of amazing things, and then you go, well, that's going to cost you, it's going to cost you 200 bucks an endpoint, and they're suddenly going like, whoa, 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 whoa. So they don't, the end user doesn't understand the actual cost of these things. So I think, and again, with security being so central to everything that to everything these days, certainly from an MSP's perspective, um, really being able to sort of like cross that hurdle of or bridging that sort of hurdle of the sort of that cost conundrum, I suppose, is becoming increasingly hard, isn't it?
Well, and this is where we kind of need to take a step back and look at what's your sales
Mm.
process leading
Mm.
up to that objection where they say, well, that's too expensive, right? And that's where the benefits of making sure that you're doing a cyber assessment, a business workflow assessment as
Mm.
part of your pre sales process is going to prove invaluable. Because you're going to get data directly from the business owner around what's important to them, what do they need to grow their business, what's blocking those priorities, what's something that needs to get fixed now for them in the next 6 to 12 months, and then backing them up with how how does their network look from a cybersecurity standpoint today? Like, is the MSP missing things? Is there deficiencies? Is there gaps? Is there holes that's
Mm.
heightening their risk? And so
Mm.
you gather all this information into a assessment, building out a risk register, and that's what gets included into your business proposal. So when you get
Yes.
the this is too expensive, then you can, go back to your proposal and say, well, yes, but your existing MSP is missing this, this, and this.
Mm.
This is automatically included. You told us that this, and this was important to you. Our solution accommodates that. So that's one big reason on how MSPs can help overcome that
Mm.
pricing objection is gathering data and using that data against them when it
Mm.
comes down to the sales process. But also going back to kind of that bundling recommendation that I give for traditional managed services clients, one of the other objections that a lot of that I hear, or I used to hear when I was in sales, if we were introducing a new product here at Enable, whether it was Passport or EDR or whatever, they would say, well, I want to incorporate that, but I got to go speak to my customer first to see if they're going to buy it from me. But if you build your security in a way where it's a bundled set of services,
Mm.
then you don't have to go and seek permission first. You are the MSP. You are the expert. You have the experience. You're the ones that are living and breathing cybersecurity day in and day out. So you know what's needed from a threat mitigation standpoint.
Mm.
So you're building your package of services based on mitigating threats that are out there and the prevalence of threats. So if you notice that, there's a new product out there that I feel I need to incorporate into my package, or I need to make some updates, go make those updates, get them incorporated into your security bundle, and then get it applied out to the rest of your customers
Mm.
with your price increase, because every year you should be raising your prices, and your price increase does accommodate any changes that you make to your bundled security package.
Mm.
So those are kind of two big ways to kind of overcome the pricing and not
Mm.
resort to, okay, well, let me reduce my price a little bit. What kind of discount can we give you?
Mm, mm, mm. I mean, and also because one of the partners I was speaking to recently was saying, obviously their approach is that they have a standardized approach, which is kind of, you have to take this as a bare minimum
Yeah,
because otherwise we're not going to be able to support you. But what he was saying was that it's important to emphasize this concept that you know um, security is not a one and done.
no,
It's a constantly evolving process. But it doesn't have to be a thing where you go, oh, I'm going to pull this technology in. It's going to cost you X amount, and then I'm going to rip it out a year later, and I'm going to give you, it's kind of layers on layers on layers, and it's like what he was saying is one of the things he found useful about the Enable roadshows is he was able to go back to his clients and say, look, all this is coming down the pipeline. So this is how I'm going to be able to increase your security or maintain your security as the threats increase over the next 12, 24 months.
absolutely. And I'm never an advocate of throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Like, I'm not saying every year redesigning the security bundle,
Mm.
but what you should be focused on is really we talked standardization,
Mm.
figuring out what is going to make up that security tech stack, not supporting five or six different backup products, not supporting four or five different EDR products, different mail security products, but focusing on what specific product you're going to go on for each layer, because there's six
Mm.
layers that really exist between kind of that client's data and kind of the outside world, and just making sure that you have the proper protection measures in place for each of those layers. And so that's where I'm saying, if you notice that there's a new tool set that's coming out, or something that's going to help mitigate risk for the majority of your customers, you shouldn't feel that you have to go get permission first
Mm.
from your customer before implementing that particular solution. Like Enable MDR, excellent example here. What Enable MDR does is it just basically wraps your advanced security program with this feature set now, with this new tool set that gives you immediate detection if there's some abnormal activity going on. We have all the other layers in place with the other technology tool sets, but nothing is 100%. And so
Yeah.
now you have a service that, you should be wrapping your advanced security around because it has the SIM, it has the SOC, so it can help you out from a skill sets and a labor standpoint. You should just roll that in if you don't have an MDR service as part of your advanced security program.
Mm,
And you should be repricing your program and then rolling that out across to your customers. Because at the end of the day, what are your customers paying for? They're
mm,
paying for you to keep their network safe and secure. They're paying you to keep their employees safe and secure and to keep their data safe and secure. They're non-technical. They don't care about the tool sets that you're using to do that. So don't
exactly.
talk to
Yeah.
them about the tool
Mm,
sets, but what
mm.
you're able to do from a business case and a business value to keep their employees and their data safe and secure. That's what they care about. That's what they're paying you for.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And to tie it back to the point that I just made about the partner I spoke to, it's all about that. What you're doing to maintain your customers' security,
Yeah.
not just because that's all they care about at the end of the day. They're not, as you say, they don't care. It's enable MDR or what. It's
Well,
just
and
like
you
it's
shouldn't
just
give
this
them
constant evolving
the
process.
choice,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Mm,
to allow a customer to kind of pick and choose their path to support shouldn't be part of your sales process,
mm,
because what do they know about what's needed,
no,
to
exactly.
keep their network secure on a 24 by 7 by 365 basis? They don't. They don't live
Mm,
in the world that you do as an MSP. So you shouldn't really allow them to kind of pick and choose or pull out or make a decision to say, yeah, we don't really need that, because they don't know if at the end of the
mm,
day they want their data safe, they want their employees safe. When they get attacked, if they want to minimize the breach impact and get back to business as quickly as possible, this is what is needed to make that happen.
mm, 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 mm. Okay, so let's refocus on the book,
Yep.
because that's the purpose of that's the purpose of the conversation. So tell me about the book. What does it include? What are you covering? And how does the process work?
Yeah. So really the book is all focused on how do you build, price, market, and sell
Mm,
security, whether you are targeting that traditional managed services customer. And what I mean by this, they are your standard small and medium sized business. They are the ones that don't have any internal IT. So they are relying on you as their MSP to take care of their network. So you're 100% responsible for the care, protection, maintenance, management of their network. So that's how I define that traditional managed services. And also, I talk about how do you build programs for the co managed client where
mm,
you're not 100% responsible for the care, protection, maintenance, and management of the network. You're partnering with an internal IT resource, whether it's the IT director or the
mm,
VP of technology or whoever. So those are two different customer types, and
mm,
they require two different programs and two different sales models and two different marketing models. So that's what the
mm,
book really covers, because depending on who you're targeting, the approach is going to be different. So I go through for each target market, because they are separate markets. What goes into the program. How are you pricing it? How do you go to market to win over your first set of customers? What are some of the common objections that you can anticipate? How should you respond back to that? And there's a lot of objections responses tied around pricing, because pricing is
mm,
generally
mm,
I think it represents only 9% of the overall sale,
yeah.
but I think it makes up 100% of the objections that you're going to hear. So I try to give as many different objection scenarios and possible responses as possible for MSPs to practice and rehearse, so they can get more comfortable when they're in a live sales negotiation, helping to overcome that.
Mm, mm. And so what just did a digging, I suppose, into some of this. What are the key points MSPs nearly really sort of need to surface and remember when they're building out their security program?
Again, it's ICP. I think I always joke
Mm,
that if I had ideal client profile, that if I had
mm,
a dollar for every time I said ICP in a day, I could retire right now, because it comes back to who are you targeting? Who is your ideal client profile, or that target client profile? You might have heard it called TCP. So who are they targeting? Why do they need it? How it's going to help and benefit them? And then are they a good fit? Because spoiler alert, not every customer is going to be a good
Mm,
fit for your advanced security program. So that's why in the playbook I actually outlined two programs for the traditional managed services client type. Because if you're an MSP that has maybe a smaller, less mature customer base, maybe you're still doing time material work, maybe there's still some they're buying from you in kind of an a la carte manner, like they're buying a tool here and there from you, to try and get them out of that mode and all the way into an advanced security program that has MDR wrapped around it. That might be a little difficult of a
mm,
sale. So I do mention in the playbook about this essentials program, and that's really kind of that foundational entry level program, that minimum level program that every customer should be in. But at the end of the day, from a segmentation perspective, if you have customers that are in a regulated industry, if you support customers in regulated markets, you have to be positioning that advanced security program.
mm,
But if you don't have those types of customers, or you're not really functioning in a regulated industry, then this is another good program that covers the basics from that layered security standpoint.
mm, mm, mm. So yeah, and you're touching on regulation there. Do you? How does the sort of and I'd also, well, I suppose because this ties back. You also mentioned at the beginning the idea of kind of um, cyber security, like doing a cybersecurity review, I suppose.
Mhm.
And how do we? Do you talk about frameworks in this and the importance of connecting these things to frameworks and sort of, I suppose,
Absolutely.
which
Yeah.
which frameworks do MSP or should MSPs be choosing?
Well, again, admittedly, the playbook is coming from it from more of a North
Mm,
America standpoint. So, um, but 90% of the frameworks all are based on the same cyber hygiene best
yeah,
practices, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah,
but in the playbook, I specifically reference NIST,
yeah.
cybersecurity framework. And when I build out the advanced program, and I did this alongside our head security nerd Lewis Pope,
Mm,
we aligned it to the NIST. So that's evident when you go through the selling security playbook. But again, everything that we're recommending, even though we're aligning it to NIST, it would align to,
mm.
any other framework that is out there. And also, we took into account cyber insurance liability application forms,
Oh, okay.
because
Yeah, yeah.
if you, this is kind of a sales tip,
Mm,
that if your customers are coming to you asking you to kind of fill out their cyber liability insurance application form, and they're not in your advanced security program,
mm.
there's your sales op right there. You can say, "Yes, I can fill this out for you, but we
Yeah,
need to
exactly.
there's some deficiencies there. There's some holes. And if
Yeah.
you want me to answer this accurately, which I have to by law so that you get paid, we need to upgrade your security protection coverage. Let's get you into the advanced security program, and I would be happy to sign off and help fill
Mm.
out your liability insurance application form."
Mm, yeah, and I mean, I mean, NIST. Obviously, NIST is the. I think I wouldn't say it's not a global standard at all, but it's like,
No.
yeah, I think if you hit NIST, you certainly do. You certainly do cover the majority, if not all, of UK cyber essentials.
Okay.
I think it's the essential 8 in Australia as well. I mean,
Yeah.
I've I was talking to Charles Weaver of MSP Alliance about this a couple of weeks ago, and he was saying exactly that. It's like, I think NIST is NIST, even if it's seen as a kind of predominantly North American, it is still a really solid baseline.
Cybersecurity hygiene fundamentals
Mm,
are the same across the board.
yeah,
It's I can't think of, and Lewis would probably be the better specialist on this, but I
yeah,
really can't think of anything that one framework has over another that's vastly different.
mm,
And again, the way that the advanced program was designed was following NIST, making sure
mm,
that we are properly protecting the six layers surrounding customers' data and the outside world. So making sure we're
mm,
protecting the device layer, making sure we're protecting the application layer, the network layer, the internet
mm,
layer, the people layer, and then obviously the cloud layer.
yeah, yeah. Okay, I mean, so let's moving the conversation now. I suppose let's talk about the go to market side of it, because obviously from a technology standpoint, I would expect a lot of MSPs to understand this, and be kind of familiar with that. But obviously, it's the sales and marketing, and the actual putting it together and going out there. So
Yeah.
what sort of things are you covering from a go to market perspective in the playbook?
Yeah. So again, making sure that you understand who are we targeting, right? If we're
Mm,
going after co-managed, then flip to the co-managed
mm,
end of the security selling playbook. If we're going after traditional, focus on that section of the playbook. When it For your traditional managed services client type, I always recommend go focus on your existing customers first. Like if this
mm,
is new to you and you still have bespoke customers out there that are on bespoke programs, kind of, customized programs, there's probably going to be gaps in terms of, how they differ from what you are recommending to what actually is in place. So I talk about doing a white space analysis. It was
mm-hmm,
something I used to always do when I was in sales, whenever I was transitioned into a new territory, finding out what your customers have and what they don't have. And then book those quarterly business reviews, which MSP should be doing anyway, but booking those quarterly business reviews to sit down with the customer and explain, look, I'm changing the way I support my customers. I'm taking on a much more advanced security mindset. In order to do that, how I've been supporting you right now doesn't meet cybersecurity best practices, cybersecurity standards that my MSP now follows. We need to get you upgraded into this new package. And unfortunately, it is going to come with a price increase. This
mm,
will take effect in 60 or 90 days, just to kind of, start socializing that with them. So I always say, focus on upgrading your existing customers first. Get MR, almost instant MRR growth from doing that, and then drawing the line in the sand that moving forward, every new customer that you speak with, they only get enrolled in your standard security program. That you really have to stop with the
mm,
bespoke. You have to stop with the, letting them pick and choose. But then with any marketing, remember that we have Market Builder for our MSP partners to
mm,
use. The Market Builder team has done a phenomenal job of creating different cybersecurity awareness campaigns. So pulling out those campaigns, there's social posts in there, there's email posts, there's I think blog posts. There's a lot of good
mm,
messaging in there. So if you're a smaller MSP listening and I'm telling you to do marketing, you're like, oh gosh, Steph, I don't have time to do that. Market Builder can get you there. We're not
mm,
asking you to, get the creative juices flowing and write this content yourself. We have the content there for
mm.
you. But then marketing can only do so much. You do have to complement that with some sort of outbound call campaign. And
Yeah.
so, whether you bring an appointment setter in, maybe you have an appointment setter already, but basically, you need to have someone, because as a business owner, you got enough plates in the air that you're managing. You can't honestly think that you're going to be able to do your own prospecting, calling, booking your appointments, going to the appointments, and then running the business. So this is an easy piece of the sales motion that you can carve out and hand over to someone just to book appointments for you.
Mm,
Again, making sure we have our client profile properly defined.
mm,
We've trained our SDR on what that is, so that they're hopefully giving you good quality leads. And then just making sure that you do have a good sales process in place, from a questioning technique, from a flow technique, that you do your assessment, and then that you're able to kind of handle um, kind of the objection, the negotiation afterwards. All of
mm.
which I do have boot camps around that have already been created.
I'm glad you name checked Market Builder. I don't think Tracy would have forgiven me if I hadn't managed to
Oh,
squeeze
no, but
Market
it's
Builder
it's
in there.
such a it's such a key piece
Mm,
to helping MSPs with their go-to-market strategy. Because you
mm,
say go-to-market strategy, I can see some MSPs are just, oh my God, I don't have time for that, right? Because again, you have
mm,
a lot of things in the air. But Market Builder is such a great tool set, and it's good for small MSPs and large MSPs. Like for the small MSPs, it's an entire platform where it has your email. So you
mm,
can roll out your emails from it. It has a scheduler from a social media marketing standpoint. So you can schedule and roll out your social posts all within Market Builder. And there's analytics built in so that you can kind of see, how your email marketing campaigns are doing. But if you're a larger MSP and you're using HubSpot and you already have that in place and you don't actually need the platform, you're not going to tell me any marketing person is not going to want additional material that they can use from. As
Mm,
someone who spends my days constantly writing, some days there's just nothing there. And so it's
mm,
lovely to be able to go into Market Builder, see what other people have written that either you can use as is, or maybe it inspires you and can prove a jumping off point. So it's a fantastic resource for all Enable partners, whether you're on the smaller end or you're on the larger end.
mm. And I think so. If we look at it, if we look at it kind of holistically, I suppose the combination of the playbook, your boot camps, market builder. I mean, really, pretty much when it comes to sort of without actually sort of physically going out there and
I'm not
handing
going to say if
MSPs their
it's the
customers.
easy button, but it's the easy button. Like I
Yeah.
tried to create everything so that it's as prescriptive as
Mm,
possible, because given how valuable time is as a resource to MSPs, try to spell things out in a logical sense. So hopefully, as the playbook gets out there and as people are reading it, that's evident to them. And if it's not, let me know. It's version 1, but there's nothing to say that there won't be more versions coming out. I'm already on version 3 of the co-managed
I was going to
digital
say,
playbook,
yeah.
and that's been out for about a year. So I'm already on version 3. So just like anything, I don't see this as being kind of a one and done type
Mm,
of
mm,
resource. So as I get that feedback and as things change, I might need to go in and make changes to it. But yes, I would hope, Pete, that between my 8 hours of boot camps just on that topic, on my two playbooks that I have written,
yeah.
different podcasts like this that I've done, that it's enough to get MSPs motivated that if they need to make changes to how they're
Mm.
delivering services today, how they're going to market, how they're selling them, I've tried to provide as much detail and actionable items that they can start implementing tomorrow. That's really my goal.
Mm. Excellent. And we will supply. I say we. I will supply the links to the playbook, obviously, in the description for
Please.
this. If you're listening to it, it will be in the description or whatever channels you're listening to it on. And again, Steph, what can I say? Thank you very much for your time. It's always a pleasure and always insightful. And hopefully, MSPs will get a lot of value out of the playbook.
I hope so as well. Thanks for having me, Pete.